Right, I want to elaborate on an iteration that's not part of the TOGAF framework, and it's referred to as the architecture realization iteration. So remember, we've just finished the architecture transition iteration, and now we're looking at, well, how do we iterate through the process of delivering against that architecture? Right, so let's get back to our ADM. So what we've done is I'm actually going to add an additional phase to this and an additional iteration. Just reminding you, this is not part of the standard TOGAF, but we feel that it's an excellent addition to help you understand how your architecture is realized. So what you have are your various phases again. And we've just come out of migration planning, which is this one. So this iteration piece here is where we've just come out of. Now we've moved into governance. And this is where your contract is finished, as mentioned in the previous topic. What I'm doing here is there's actually the delivery of my architecture, which is over here. So this is something that occurs, right, separate of the architectural effort. In other words, what it's saying is, right, the plan and what I need to deliver comes out of here as a migration plan and the roadmap that we've spoken through. Now, I've given it to a delivery team. They need to deliver against it, and I need to now govern them in that delivery process. So what I'm doing here is the realization iteration. And I'm conducting my reviews specifically on the delivery team as they're delivering against that requirement. Right? So what that means is I have a contract and I'm saying, right, Mr. Delivery Team, I'm coming to you every 3 weeks and I'm going to evaluate your exercises or your outputs to make sure you're in line with the architecture that I've developed. You're in line with the architectural model. So that is the architectural realization iteration. Now similarly on the back of that, remember we spoke about architectural partitioning, which really said that I had a strategic architecture which was at the top, and coming out of that I had a migration plan which then fed into various segments, which sort of worked its way out that, and there could have been 3 which were identified. And then each of those in turn had their own migration plans, and in turn they then fed into some capabilities that they might have needed to realize. So when it comes to the architecture realization iteration, the exact same principle applies. When I move into the next phase here, right, which is implementation governance, well, what is my realization component? Well, this is your realization component. So all of these pieces are trying to realize what I've identified up at the strategic level. So I'm governing the realization of that at the next level down. And now I can check, here's my architectural model at a strategic architecture level, and I can govern the architectural effort occurring at the segment level and say, well, this is what we decided to do at a strategic space. You guys, you aren't in alignment with what we're doing here. You need to have the following course corrections. Similarly, at a segment level, eventually the implementation governance piece at a segment would also govern all the capabilities that need to be developed coming out of that particular perspective. And here are all your capability architects going through the same ADM, cycling through it, till ultimately way down here I'll have a migration plan and a governance piece which is actually going to then spin out to my delivery team. And they may not even use TOGAF. They may use something like RAP, which is a rational unified process, or some type of agile delivery technique in which they're specifically going to be now delivering the architecture in a tangible piece of software or a tangible process changes that might occur. So some BPM elements might even occur if there are no technology changes. So you can kind of see how it's important to have an understanding of the partitioning of your architecture, because when you govern and you do migration planning, those are all the pieces that need to bolt together to ensure you've got traceability right down here in your solution model, right up to your strategic model, which sits at the top. Right, so after all of that work, all of that planning and blueprinting, we've come to the end of our architecture realization iteration. And guess what? We have a completed car. It's been through the production line, it's gone through the factory, it's been assembled, hopefully all in the right order, and there it is in the lot, ready to go. So that brings us to the end of the architecture realization iteration. Now remember, in Module 4, we're going to be dealing with how TOGAF relates to some of the other disciplines like solution architecture and project management. And really that's referring back to this piece here around what happens when we actually deliver against that architecture. And I've referred to some techniques like the rational unified process, BPM, which is business process management, and a variety of other tools and techniques outside the scope of architecture. But Module 4 will actually give you some more detail on how those disciplines interact with one another.